Jen Storty never thought a house could cause so much stress. She has spent the better part of a year worrying when she should be studying.
This house is like the biggest ball of stress any student should ever have to deal with.
Jen is living away from home for the first time. She was looking for a cheap place on a student budget. She finally settled on this house shared with other students. She liked the landlord, Mohammed Abdul Rahman, or as his tenants called him, Mo.
Mo they came across, which is why all of us rented here, is like this great, like we're gonna have this young landlord and he's gonna be like so prompt, you know, like be around a lot to help us out, and, you know, like came off as a really, really nice guy, like genuinely, and we all believed it.
But that soon changed just days after she moved in.
We wanted stuff done, we'd call him, and it'd be like answering machine after answering machine, and then finally, when he'd get us back after we left a message, he'd always tell us that he'd have someone, his famous line, to send someone over tomorrow to take care of it, but when tomorrow came around, it never happened.
But it wasn't just the small stuff. This landlord didn't seem to worry about safety.
This is our water heater. The basement floods like all the time. No, it doesn't work.
Little did Jen know, the unsafe house would almost cost her her life.
And I was just cooking, and I just put it on here, went to my room. I went back to the kitchen, and as soon as I opened the door to my room, I just saw smoke all over. Like the room, just the whole main floor covered in smoke. And I went to the kitchen. The flames were going from like here to there. And that would have never happened if the smoke alarm had have gone off. Like when I tried to use the fire extinguisher that was under the sink, it had already been used. While doing that, I had gotten grease burns all over my arm. And yeah, I went and got my roommate and his girlfriend, and they took me to the hospital, and I had second-degree burns on my arm and first-degree burns to my face and my ear. I called Mo, and a couple of my other roommates also called Mo, because our house was obviously, like, all the walls were covered in black soot from the fire, and it just seemed like he really didn't even care that we almost burnt his house down. Totally accidentally. He didn't seem to care that the fire alarms didn't work. Didn't seem to care that the smoke alarm didn't work, and really just didn't seem to care that I almost died in the process of saving his house.
Housing mediator Glenn Matthews explains that landlords all too often get away with neglect.
If a landlord could have a series of violations against them, and there's nothing that would stop them from opening up shop, per se, at another location.
Alicia Vanderay works for Horizons Rental Properties. She explains why students are often easy targets.
Just because they're young and they're naive, they don't know a whole lot. Most of them are like first, second year. You know, if they're second year, they're coming out of residence. They just don't have the knowledge behind renting. Like, it's their first time away from home. So a lot of them just, you know, sign a lease without really, you know, completely looking it over and checking, you know, crossing their T's and dotting their I's, basically. So, and a lot of landlords take advantage of that.
Horizons works with landlords and tenants to make the rental process easier.
We are hired on behalf of the landlord to take care of the properties. We have non-managed clients as well, where they hire us just to rent out their property. We put the post-dated checks and everything that we collect in the landlord's name, and then they take care of their property from then on.
Alicia says most landlords are reliable. Glenn Matthews agrees.
We've done surveys in the past where, in fact, our most recent one, we surveyed 3,000 students, Western students, in February, March of 2006, and well over 90% of the students are happy with their landlord. Where you have problems is there's, you know, somewhere between 3 and 5% of landlords that are causing some major issues because they aren't attentive to their clients' needs.
But what about Jen's landlord? Dylan Beeman was a tenant at the same house. He was fed up and decided to leave. He wants to know how this whole mess happened.
I just don't understand how this guy can become a landlord without some precautions or some testings or some investigation by an actual landlord-tenant, board. Where did he go to get this landlord license?
But there is no landlord license, not yet at least. The City of London is considering following municipalities such as Oshawa with the landlord license system. They held a public meeting, but as could be expected, were met with hostility by landlords. Since then, not much has happened. Licensing is an option, but in the meantime, what can tenants do to protect themselves?
Just read about it, get information from the tenant board, the rental tribunal. You can ask tons of questions to them. If you don't feel something's right when you're signing a lease, or just, make sure you ask questions. Take care of yourself and just, make sure that you're, really being smart about it.
We strongly believe that if they ask the current tenant whether or not that it's a good landlord, the current tenants that are living there, that's the single biggest indicator whether it's a good landlord or not.
So what about Mohammed Abdul Rahman?
Every time we call Mo now, he is like, I'm not the landlord, I'm not the landlord. We have no idea what this guy's name is, no idea what his phone number is. Heard supposedly that he lives in Toronto, and so now when something goes wrong with the house, we're just left in limbo because apparently we don't have a landlord or we don't have someone who wants to take responsibility for the actions of this house.
We tried to track him down after making a series of phone calls. It was easy to discover why his former and current tenants thought he had vanished without a trace. He was thought to reside at this address, but our video surveillance showed no signs of his whereabouts. This cafe was owned by him, but now it's abandoned. Apparently, he's a bad landlord and a bad tenant. For Jen Storty and Dylan Beeman, the memory of this house remains a testament to Abdul Rahman's neglect as a landlord.
Probably going to be suing Mo, depending on there's a 50-50 chance if you win, and he's a pretty good scammer, so you also have to take that into consideration.